Oh. All right. So here we are with a none-on-one interview with Ginger Minj.
Hi, a none on one. That's so exciting.
Yeah, well, that's my last name, Jerry Nunn, and we had met a really long time ago before the race started at the Vic in Chicago. We did red carpet interviews.
I
Yeah.
remember. I totally remember that. That was one of those nights that it was kind of full circle for me because I had competed for Miss Continental Plus for years and years, and it was always either at the Vic or at the other theater that's there. Love it. My
Yeah.
favorite, that one. But it was so different for me because I felt like I was coming home, but also starting completely over.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So
It was the Park West. The Park
the
West.
yeah. But that night at the Vic, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like this is the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. And I just took in everything that night and kind of like kept it forever.
It was a really cool night. I wish they did that more. They don't do that anymore with the RuPaul girls. They don't do that. They don't come around Chicago with that.
Because there's 5 million seasons a year now. They don't have the budget for it. They can't go and put stage. Season 7 really was kind of like the last season that just was a standalone season. Because even with season 8, right afterwards it went right into All Stars 2, and that just kind of like catapulted everything to being like UK and Canada and Thailand, all these things, UK versus the world now. It's like there's so many seasons of Drag Race, we never have an opportunity to get bored or to know anybody.
Sure. Well, I'm glad I got to know you a little bit. You were one of the nicest ones, and you should have won Miss Congeniality. I mean, you were so great.
That's so funny because everybody, well, no, I won't say everybody, but a lot of people did not care for me on season 7 because they thought I was too bitchy and too mean.
Well, that doesn't go with, I mean, I've seen you at Roscoe's and all kinds of places, and you've always been nice. So, yeah. Well, let's go over pronouns. Mine are he, him, his.
I am she, her, always in or out of drag. I identify as non-binary, so I'll kind of be okay with everything. To me, it's really like the intention behind it. So as long as you're respectful, I'm good.
Very good. Okay. So let's talk about you doing Lacage. So talk about how you got involved with it and how did all that happen?
Well, Lacage is one of those things, as a little theater brat, it was what I aspired to. I loved the Birdcage when it came out. And then I found out that it was based on this musical, which was based on a French play. And I became obsessed with it. I had the original Broadway cast recording and I played it nonstop. And I remember our local community theater, the Bay Street Players in Eustis, Florida, they had said when I was like 18, they were going to do this show for me. And then it was such a small conservative town. I mean, it really still is, but it got pulled at the last second. And there I am at 18 years old going, oh, it's the end of my life. Now my dream will never come true. Not realizing at the time that I had no business playing that role when I was 18 years old. There's just so much life experience that it requires. So flash forward, I do season 7, I do All Stars 2. And then whenever we gathered the cast together it was like the week after Pulse happened, and it was also in honor of Harvey Fierstein's birthday on the Trailblazer Awards. I got to sing I Am What I Am, which is one of those songs that, like, as a queer kid, it really is just, it's such an anthem, and it really helped me get through a lot when I was growing up. So I was really excited to sing that song. Everybody always asked me, like, what was it like? I said, I have no idea. I took a Xanax and 2 shots of whiskey because I was shaking like a leaf. I was so nervous, and I don't remember anything during the performance. I remember leading right up to it, and I remember immediately after. And that's when Harvey came running out, just crying and hugging me, and I felt like it was one of the most important things I had done. And then people started loving it. So then the offers to star in Lacage started coming in from all over. And my thing about it is I'm such a fan of the show, first and foremost, that you only get one chance to really do it right for the first time. Oh, you only get one chance to make a good first impression. So they would come to me and we'd have all these meetings about, you know, the style that they want to do or the changes that they want to make. And I was really just looking for somebody who understood it on the same level that I did and kind of shared the same thoughts and feelings and revered it in the way that I did. So it wasn't until Music Theater Works approached me during All Star 6 this past year, and I sat down with their director and we talked for hours about, you know, just like the meat of the story and what the heart really is. And he got it and I got it, and I felt like we meshed really well. So we rearranged the schedule. We got an apartment in Chicago, and we're coming up there for 2 months to make sure we do the show right.
Awesome. Yeah. So this is a little, there's different parts to this, right? Than the original, there's some updating or Harvey worked on the book, right?
There's a little bit of update. Like we're using the script from the last Broadway revival, which it had a little revision by Harvey Fierstein, who wrote the script for it. It's still pretty much the same show. We're taking out a few of the more dated references that could be considered offensive by today's standards. And honestly, even watching this show, I watched the 2004 revival. That was the first one that I like, the big production that I saw. And then I watched this last revival, and there were things in there that I can't imagine playing correctly even in the 80s when this thing came out. A very good friend of mine who actually passed away this past year, her name was Miss Sammy, and her very first Broadway show was as a Cagelle in the original Broadway production of La Cage. So it was really fun to kind of sit back over the years. You know, I've been doing drag, it's like 18 years for me now. And all that whole time up until this past year, just seeing the pictures and hearing the stories about how this show in particular not only changed Sam's life, but he saw night after night, and then he took it on tour and all that. He saw how it was affecting people outside of our community and the change that it was making. And I feel like that's such a responsibility that you have to continue to tweak it and update it a little bit to make it more accessible for a modern audience, but also to keep the core values of the show the same so that it can continue to start a conversation and have the impact that it has.
Got it. Okay. And then Project Runway's Justin LeBlanc is going to be doing the costumes.
I was in love with Justin on Project Runway. I'm a reality TV junkie. Yeah. I'm gonna put that out there. My favorite show in the whole world was Dance Moms. Now it's 1,000-Pound Sisters. It's trash TV. I love every second of it. I remember watching every season of Project Runway, and then Justin came on there, and there was something about how open he was with his emotions and his heart, and he funneled all of this love and everything that he had into every design. And that was the first designer that I really connected with in that way, just like sitting back and watching it on TV going, you're making me, who doesn't really, I don't say I don't care about fashion, but I don't understand fashion most of the time. But he made it very accessible for me. And so then moving forward, meeting him during our press and promo week that we were doing for La Cage, our filmings and stuff, it was just such a dream come true. I was very starstruck for a few minutes, and it was weird because he was a little starstruck of me too. So it was this lovely little wall that was up between us that we had to chip down. And he's just the nicest person with the smartest ideas when it comes to clothes, because to him the clothes come from the inside out. It's fun. It's so fun, and I learned so much watching him work.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. I did get to meet him before too. I really loved him too. I get
Well,
it.
he and his husband are in the process of having their first child. My husband and I have been in the process of having our first child. So there was a lot of common ground there. So when we went out to dinner on our very first night, we got to sit down and talk about that, which is like, you know, a real life thing outside of the artifice of drag and fashion and showbiz and all that. So I felt like I got to know both of them on a much deeper level, which then reflects in the work that we do together, because I think we understand each other a little more.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do you have a favorite moment in La Cage that you like?
My favorite moment is in Act Two, whenever Alban goes away, and because Jean Michel's mother says that, spoiler alert, she's not going to make it. So Alban ducks into the bathroom, throws on some quick drag, and comes out and pretends to be Jean Michel's birth mother. And it's one of those moments that, yeah, it's funny when it happens because there's this big song where everybody's singing different stuff, and then she just pops out looking like, like Barbara Bush going, "Oh, here's mother." It's a funny in the moment, but then you realize everything that led up to that, all of the hurt feelings that Albin had because of the way that he had been treated by Jean Michel, and the way he'd been treated by his husband Georges, that was all thrown out the window because his love for them was so much deeper. So he was willing to risk it all, including embarrassment, and also including risking upsetting his son and his husband to try to save the moment. And it's such a quick moment. It's a short line, but there's so much that goes behind it that I feel like the whole show kind of leads up to that. And it is so fun, and it is so beautiful, and it is so nerve-wracking because I've got like 3 minutes to get into complete mother drag.
Oh my gosh. How fast does it take you to get ready?
Well, when I'm doing like regular drag, I like to give myself 45 minutes to an hour just to do the face, and then another half hour so I can, powder everything down, pull it up, do whatever I need to do, and get myself in front of a camera. But for this show, I am in and out of drag like 6 times. And the first time that I'm in drag, I do it on stage while I'm singing. And I think it's like 2 minutes. So I've got like my foundation on, and then I'm sitting there singing, telling the world what's going on in my mind. And then the next thing you know, I'm in complete drag and I'm on stage performing the show.
Wow. I mean, you have to really know your stuff, your lines, everything to do other things oh my gosh, challenge.
Everybody always says, "Oh, I bet your favorite moment is I put a little more mascara on," because that's the song. That's the first one. It's the big one. It's other than I Am What I Am. That's the one everybody knows, like the fun version of I Am What I Am. So I thought that would probably be my favorite part going in. And then once I started to work on it, I was like, no, this is probably my least favorite part, because if you get one thing wrong, if your eyelash doesn't stick the second that you need it to stick, you're behind and you don't have time to recover.
Oh, no.
It is a lot. Like, we've spent hours and hours just on that number trying to perfect all of the little teeny tiny pieces that go into it. It's a lot. It's good and it's fun, but it is a lot.
Wow. I love the behind the scenes too. I mean, that really shows your work too, how much you have to work.
Well, a lot of people, I hate the fact that the Drag Race girls in particular, I don't see this with most other reality stars, but when it comes to acting and singing and dancing and makeup and costumes and this, that, and the other thing, we are required to have all of those things before we even step foot onto RuPaul's Drag Race. It's not like a typical reality show where, you're following around some housewives who throw drinks at each other and make drama. That's fun to watch, but when you look and you're seeing them put, all these women on Broadway in Chicago or all these different shows, yes, there's a moment where you should sit back and go, well, is she a singer? Is she a dancer? Can she really handle this? But I don't see a lot of pushback for that from like the Broadway going community. But the second a Drag Race girl gets cast in a movie or a play or anything like that, then all the naysayers come out and they're like, well, can she really do this? Like, yes, drag queens are very talented. Drag have had to be self-sufficient and learn to do all of these different things for themselves for years and years. So it's a little daunting going into anything like this where you feel like people are already looking at you going, are you going to be able to pull this off? But it's also really fun because you can pull it off, and then you see their faces at the end going, okay, bitch, I see you, I see what you did.
Yeah, I think back whenever we were at the beginning and, I was doing those interviews, and everything. I didn't realize the massive appeal. Europe is all into it, like all across the world. You know, it's a lot of pressure, and those people come after you online. I mean, it's just a lot.
It is. And right after season 7, like I said before, I was not a fan favorite. There were people who were very, very, very into me and have supported me from day one. And I had to learn to focus on them instead of like the squeaky wheel that gets the grease, that whole thing. I had somebody finally came up to me and told me, somebody I worked for him in his restaurant. Well, I used to, when he used to have it years ago. And he said, from working in the restaurant, that the only reviews that we got on Yelp were from the people who had a bad experience. If you like something, you just kind of say, oh, I like that, and you move on. You don't feel the need to make your voice heard. So that really kind of put it into perspective. I was like, even though there's these people that are online saying these terrible things about me, and which 99.9% of them have no basis in truth. There's so many more that I was meeting out on the road that didn't feel the need to go online and say, you're great and I love you, because they just wanted to come out and show me in person. And that was the biggest lesson to learn after Drag Race. And now, oh my gosh, I can't go anywhere without somebody telling me how much they love me and how much I mean to them. And it's great. It's wonderful. And all you have to do is focus on that.
I love that. I love that. And you completely slayed on All Stars. I mean, every minute you were just so impressive. So, I mean, let me just say that.
Thank you. I loved All Star 6. Season 7 was it was not a great point in my life, but I had a lot of fun doing the show. Right before All Stars 2, excuse me, my entire life just kind of blew up in a bad way. Like, my personal life was just so bad. I couldn't get my head in the game. I had no business doing All Stars 2. So flash forward all these years later, when they call me for All Star 6, well, they called me for All Stars 4 and 5, and I said no, because I didn't feel like I was at the place in my life where it was time to reinvent, go back, and share some more of myself. But then All Star 6 happened. We were in a pandemic, and I was like, you know what? I feel like this pandemic has forced me to really re-examine who I am as an artist. It's forced me to become a lot more creative because, all the work stopped. So we started putting on little plays in the garage, all these digital drag shows. They took off. Well, we were making a little bit of money, enough to like pay the bills, but we weren't making enough to sink into all these brand new costumes and sets and props and all that. So it felt like I had started drag all over. We were ripping these boxes out of the attic, opening them and going, oh, there's feather dusters, and here's some reindeer antlers from Christmas 12 years ago. Let's glue them together and we'll do a whole Lion King theme. So we ended up being a lot more creative than I've been in many, many years. And I felt like that was something that I could share, something that was like a new discovery for me. It gave me a purpose to go back to All Stars. And then when I went, it was just the most perfect experience. Even when it wasn't going well or in my favor or whatever, it was fun. There was never a moment that I regretted. Even if it was not a great moment for me, I never regretted it because I had fun in it. And it was the first time we got to the top 4, and we all looked around and went, who cares? Whoever wins is taking the rest of us out to dinner, and we get to pick. So we made Kylie take us to the most expensive steakhouse we could find, and we ate on her dime. And it was just great. It was great. There was no bad feelings about it at all.
Oh, that's so awesome to hear. So music came out of the pandemic too, right? I mean, you've been that double-eyed diva I loved because I'm from Tennessee and country music and all that.
Well, I grew up with country music. It was what was second nature to me, but it's one of those things where, like, if something is such a big part of you, it's you kind of run away from it for a little bit, and growing up in the drag world, once I started to transition into drag, I did not think that drag and country music would ever go hand in hand. I thought they were two very opposite ends of the entertainment spectrum. And I also knew how the people that I had grown up with who were so into country music had treated me. So I didn't want to kind of invite that back into my life. But having grown up with that and sung all of that music my entire childhood, it was like second nature to me. So once we got to All Star 6, and I made this promise to myself, we were going to start just taking chances and doing things that we want to do and see how it pans out. I did one country song, and all of my friends in my circle and everything, they were like, this is real country music. This isn't drag. It's not country filtered through RuPaul's Drag Race. It's like real country music. And I loved it because it was the first time I got to sit down and write lyrics that really stemmed from who I was. And I felt like told my story. And then when we released the album, it was so overwhelming how much positive response we got, not from the Drag Race community. Like they embraced it, they loved it, but most of our Spotify and YouTube and Apple Music, all those playlists are directly linked to the country music world. And I've had all of these artists that I've cherished for forever, like Martina McBride and Dolly Parton. They've reached out, and Winona Judd, and said, "Oh, I just love your music. It's so good." So it made me feel like I was doing something right, and it's a path that I think I will continue to follow.
Awesome. That's great. So you have a book too that's in the
I
works?
do have a book. My book's coming out. It's called Southern Fried Sass.
Okay.
And it's this like weird hybrid thing that we came up with that's well, I say we came up with it. I'm sure there's plenty out there, but for us it was the only way to do this book. So it's my life story. It's a memoir, but it is also told through recipes, because to me everybody's like love language is really food. Even if you can't understand what somebody's saying to you, you can kind of understand how they're feeling or who they are by the food that they give to you. So I've collected these recipes. A lot of them are from my grandmother when she passed away. You know, she didn't have a whole lot, but her recipes from when she owned her restaurant, they were very a prized possession in our family, and I got them, and the rest of them were bitter as cat piss about it. I used to do all the cooking with her, and we would come up with all these new twists on her old recipes. So we're putting a lot of those in there. It's stuff that I've collected from people all around the world, including a lot of the queens that I've met. So they all go hand in hand. And I won't call it a self-help book. It's a book about how I helped myself.
I love that.
That
Okay.
makes
Yes, completely makes sense. Where do you like people to follow you, and how can they find out information about that?
Oh, the easiest thing to do is just go to gingerminj.com. It's MINJ.com. There's a link tree there. You can follow me everywhere. I'm always doing something.
Yeah, impressive. So La Cage aux Folles is playing at Music Theater Works. That's in Skokie, Illinois. And that's March 10th through April 3rd. We're going to get to come see you. So super excited.
Oh, it's so good. And I want to tell everybody out there, like, seriously, if you love the Birdcage, if you love drag, if you love family, if you love musicals, whatever you like, there is something for you in this show. And it's a totally new, fun, immersive production.
Awesome. Well, I will be there, and I can hardly wait to cheer you on and meet you after the show. So just want to say thanks for the interview today. It was great talking to you again, Ginger, and I love everything you do. So
thank you, honey. I hope we don't spend so much time not talking to each other next time.
I know. We'll be hanging out. Around. Well, take care and safe travels. We'll see you in Chicago soon.
Thank you, my love.
All right. Bye.